Hello, this is People Matters Kigali Rwanda, your HR platform whereby you will get to know HR related matters and how you can take care of your people in your organization. Today we're going to talk about unhealthy competition. How is it affecting your people? How is it affecting your organization? How is it affecting your productivity? So you need to know how you are going to make it healthy competition, because competition is needed in every organization. But how is it affecting you? How can you handle it as a HR leader or as an employee who's dealing with it? How are you going to do it? How are you going to make sure that you are making it the best out of it? So we are having good guests who are going to talk about it, who are going to introduce themselves. They are very expert in HR related matters. So you're most welcome.
Good afternoon and welcome to People Matters. It's an honor and a privilege to be here today, courtesy of Steve.
Yes.
Yes, lovely. And I will allow my friend to introduce himself.
Yes.
I think I'm more of home, so I'll give him an opportunity and then I will go next. Ladies first, men before.
Yeah, thank you, Bella. My name is Chris Otera. I'm a human resource practitioner for the last 20 years. I'm a certified HR professional, and I've worked for a couple of organizations. And we are here in Rwanda to bring a conversation about People Matters, just to try and fathom this unknown area about office politics when it comes to competition and a healthy working environment. Over to you, Bella.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's amazing how he calls me Bella. For those who do not know, I'm actually Bella because of Isabella Isiji. So Isabella Isiji is my name. I have been in Rwanda for the last 12 or so years, and it's been an honor to work in this space, to interact with different personalities across board, both in the HR space and beyond. And yes, got an opportunity to interact in different spheres, and that comes with the office politics that probably we'll talk about, and also touch on competition. And there's healthy competition, there's unhealthy competition, and just where do we draw the lines? I think that will be our focus of our conversation today. It's interesting to know that you have worked in different landscape, and walk us through the journey of how you have found yourself in Rwanda and where have you come from?
Where I come from? I come from a village in Kenya called Lugenya. But in terms of career-wise,
Yes.
I've had an opportunity to work in a number of countries. What inspired me to come into HR is the education system back in Kenya, where you get a degree, and you get your high school certificate, then you are sent to go and pursue some studies. But if given an opportunity, probably I could have wanted to become a lawyer.
Oh, wow.
Which is still part of my to-do lists before I exit to go to the other life. And when I finished my high school, I was called to Kenyatta University. I went and pursued a Bachelor of Arts in Human Resources. I never knew what human resources was then, but then it used to be called personnel management. So it transitioned from personnel management to human resources. I actually served as a director at the Institute of Human Resource back in Kenya at a very tender age. Then it changed now from human resources management to human capital management. So I pursued my undergraduate in human resource. I entered into HR. When I entered into HR from a very tender age, I was able to become a manager at one of the leading universities back in Kenya called KCA University. And also the issue about mentorship. Yeah, I had very good mentors. Just to mention people like Caroline Misoi, who was my mentor. Actually, she's the one who made us connect together. So then I pursued my master's in human resources. I pursued my professional certification in human resources. Right now I'm doing my PhD centered around organization development. How I ended up in Rwanda, I think this is my 8th country to work in. I've been to Ivory Coast, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Mauritius, sorry, I'm forgetting the others. Zambia, in terms of work. So then I've come here to Rwanda to help in some project, some funded project, uh, whereby we are setting up the human resource function and looking at capacity building, capacity development, and how we can be able to harness the solid talent within Rwanda and beyond to be able to meet some objectives. I'm currently working for an organization called Solid Minds. Allow me to say something about Solid Minds.
Not a problem.
So Solid Minds is an organization that deals with mental health, and they focus more on the well-being of an individual and how they're able to overcome some of the quiet sicknesses that we have, because there's a lot of stigma around matters to do with mental health that everybody tries to run away from. So Solid Mind is able to come and assist you as an organization, as an individual, and as a society to be able to overcome that. So Bella, in French you say c'est tout. That is it about me. Tell me about yourself.
Yeah, you wear very many hats. So interesting.
Thank you.
And good also to know that you are recommended to me by someone who is very credible and somebody who has spearheaded this journey for so many of us. How I came into HR, I think some of us stumble into into careers, if I may say.
Yeah.
So I started off in the third sector, and that's because I did community development. And then along the way, after working for some years back in Kenya, I realized this was not working for me. But I had a passion for people because even in the third sector, I was supporting people.
Yes.
So this has been a passion for many years. And out of that, I went back to school and I thought, what should I do? And I ended up doing psychology. And I remember one of my lecturers asking, so what do you want to major in? And I said, I wanted to do general psychology, then I will figure myself out as I go. And little did I know that I'd just started a new journey. And so when it came time to transition from the third sector, I decided to take my leap in HR. And back in Kenya, I was actually not doing I did not have a HR title per se, but then I handle all administrative issues and all people issues. So I was a coordinator for a project, but I found myself to coordinate more of the people matters. And so in that, I grew into the space and even became more inclined now to go to school and study. And so I did BCom and majored in human resources.
Super.
And later on, then I did, for my master's, I did an MBA and then majored in organization development.
OD, you're quite
Yes.
good in OD,
Yeah, so I did organization development. And then I was like, I think these people are very interesting because as you work and as you interact with different people, then you get to realize different things. And I was like, I think I need to go back to school again and do something more.
Yeah.
And so that's how I ended up doing strategic human resources to just understand, people and organization at a different spectrum. How I came to Rwanda, I think this was God sent. I think Rwanda for me has been a country that has spurred me to growth, that has challenged me, that has constantly put me on my toes. And so I would say in a nutshell, that is who I am. That's how I found myself in this space and I have loved it. And interestingly, that today we talk about competition.
Yep.
And so I would, from your very many engagements in different countries, what is your perspective about competition at work?
Competition at work, there's what we call healthy competition, which is actually allowed. And I will talk about very basic things. In your family, if you look at your palm, even here, it all looks the same. But you realize that all of us are different. If you look at your fingers, but you realize one of them is taller than the other. and all of them cannot be able to be equal. So there is no harm in competition, but there's a lot of harm in negative competition. And when we talk about competition, we talk about performance that can be able to drive the organization to a better status. And we look at performance. You do the performance evaluation at the end of the cycle, and at the end of the cycle, probably half year, annual, you'll be able to see. And I like having my sales background. I've worked for so many sales organizations. In fact, I've been a HR business partner for sales function. And you realize that at the end of the month, at the end of the quarter, at the end of the half year, or at the end of the year, there are those ones who will have performed more than others. So then, as a leader, you need to find out why has this been. So competition can actually be objective-led or subjective-led. So that will be my preamble in terms of the competition. What about you? What's your thought about it?
Well, I think there is good competition and there is bad competition. But just like publicity, there is good publicity and bad publicity, but publicity is publicity.
Publicity is publicity.
So competition is competition. It is now how we handle competition and how are people competing. That's how I would look at it. I'm a huge fan of borrowing from the athletes, borrowing from the sporting fraternity.
Absolutely, yes.
And many of us watch football and, you know, the adrenaline and everything. But basically, what is being projected is competition. But then how is it that we find it very good when we're watching it, but when we come to work, then it becomes an issue? And I think it's an issue of balance. So from the sporting world, if you're going to borrow from any game, be it soccer, you know, tennis, there's an aspect of competition. But then what is your goal? And you would realize during halftime, people actually shake hands. So it was not that bad. It is not an issue that I develop an enmity, I look at you in a different perspective. We just have an objective that we need to meet at the end of the day.
I think even to structure a conversation, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to say this comes to you courtesy of Steve. Steve is our host here. Steve is People.
Steve is actually the founder of People Matters. And this has been an issue that has been at heart for him, to ensure that we organize safe spaces where people can discuss people issues.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. So to structure a conversation, I think let's focus first on the positive aspect of competition, and which I think is where we are almost dwelling in. Then we shall unpack, we shall peel the onion and talk about the bad side of competition.
Absolutely.
So on the good side of the competition, I've mentioned to you earlier that this week I've been reading the book of Truth.
Okay.
Yeah, and ladies and gentlemen, I wish you can go and read the book of Ruth, chapter 2, verse 1 to 18, which talks about Ruth when she went to work in a guy called Boaz's farm. And he went there to work, to till, and into the farm. But in the process, Boaz came. And Boaz was a very rich, wealthy man. And inside there, he was able to pinpoint truth. And he asked his people, who is this lady? Then the security came and told her, her name is blah, blah, blah. You know, you can imagine when a president passes by and he sees you working, and he asks, or a CEO asking, who is this person? And all of a sudden, God blessed the work of Ruth. And even, she was even married into Boaz. What does that tell you about work? If you go to office, work diligently, do your work. Your work will tell about you more than your politics that are supposed to propel you into success. So if you focus about the positive side of healthy competition, I will talk about you're employed, you have your job description, you have your annual targets, focus on what's supposed to be delivered, build the organization into success, such that people will say, there once lived Bella And Bella did this.
Interesting that you look at it that way. Another way of looking at it would be in terms of you as a person. What is it that you bring to the organization? The value addition.
Absolutely.
And any time that if we can start from within as opposed from without, I think we are going to change, because then we actually spur other people to desire to know what is different about us. And so if you have your skill sets, if you know what exactly the value addition that you're bringing to the workspace, then that spurs competition into a healthy competition. Absolutely. As opposed to negative competition. In my opinion or perspective, I think negative competition comes out of fear.
I think we'll come back to that.
Yes.
We shall unpeel that mask.
Yeah,
because, but that's to preempt.
There.
Yes.
Yeah, allow me to get there a bit.
Yes.
In terms of, because we need to know the various aspects of competition. And there's good competition. But then we need to know what spurs negative competition. And it, for me, in my opinion, as I'd said, it's from an aspect of fear of sometimes the unknown, fear that another person will outshine you, fear that you will be succeeded if you more or less doing the same kind of role or task. You imagine that maybe the other person is going to outshine you, and therefore you'll be probably declared redundant. But then what I was saying is, if you know what you're able to offer and you understand the value proposition that you bring to the space, then competition will be like in the pitch. You bring your A game every day, and there are days to win and there are days to lose. Yeah.
No, you've talked about raising yourself to the level of incompetency. So there are people will be there are people will be in an organization. They're totally incompetent, but they play politics all the way to the
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, but also now then they need to realize that even right now for us, we are very scared about our positions because we have the Gen Zs who are coming up.
And they're telling us, ship in or you ship out.
Yeah, and you can easily be replaced in an organization.
Absolutely.
So how do you even embrace them? Do you start playing politics with them in terms of unhealthy competition? So there are people who have raised themselves to the level of incompetency, and they're actually holding very senior position and absolutely doing
absolutely nothing.
All what they have is what you call jargon.
Monoxide.
They'll come to office, discuss, let's put matters into perspective, let's look at the strategic view. The strategic view of this organization is very oblique. Then you're like, hey, I think that guy knows what he's doing. But let him turn around. What have you been able to deliver? Nothing. So how do you survive in this organization? Politics. Yeah? Both female and male.
Absolutely.
And of course, we can discuss about even the other issues about diversity, equality, and inclusiveness. Inclusion. People who have the parallel growth into an organization. Simply because I know so and so, I know so and so. Yeah.
Now that you have brought something,
that's the negative side.
You just brought in something very interesting about who do you know?
No, in an organization.
You know, and because I know somebody, I think that I'm safe. But that actually is
or
one
affiliated.
Or affiliated. I like to call them invisible hands. You know, somebody is there, but they constantly threaten your existence in that organization.
Power by association.
Power by association. And so that is one of the major things that sometimes kill even good talent. Because no matter how good you are in your skill, if you're going to always constantly watch over your back, you have very little time to be productive. Because then you spend too much time looking over your shoulders because you are worried all the time that somebody is going to oust you. There's going to be a coup d'etat. Because somebody is either thinking that they need to get you out, they succeed you, they need to bring maybe an ally who maybe will entertain their mediocrity. And all that brings unhealthy competition. So I think
But let me ask you,
Yeah.
not unless it's sole proprietorship,
Yes.
why should such kind of behavior work in a corporate organization, which you know there are other levels of measures that can be intervened? Don't you think it's the boss who is actually tolerating this kind of thing? Because with an assumption, I'm a sales officer, I report to a sales regional sales manager, who reports to the head of sales. The head of sales reports to the regional head of sales. The regional head of sales report to the country director. Blah blah blah. So why should I be down here? And I have a lot of powers. I very junior person, but I I hold a lot of powers.
Because mediocrity finds its way into the boardrooms.
Into the boardrooms.
You see, let me tell you, interesting that they say, you know, everything rises and falls on leadership. And so unhealthy competition stems from up there.
Up there.
Somebody is insecure. And so what they are doing, instead of empowering people in the organization below here, what they do is they put cops all around. So everybody is watching over for the boss and ensuring that, you know, if I'm in line with the boss, we are good, then I'm not going to lose my job. So everybody is watching over how to maintain their bread. And at the end of the day, nobody is working.
And I think that's the reason why at times I appreciate leaders who say, let's put matters into perspective and hire competent people who can be able to deliver my objectives.
Yes.
Rather than hiring political people who are going to sing and praise me in office. Now, if by any chance you're working in such an organization, just note that if one potato is rotten in a sack, you know what it means. The whole sack of potato is actually rotten. So we try and urge organizations to avoid unhealthy competition and embrace healthy competition, because of the aspect that the organization is able to see the value that Bella is bringing into this organization. Personally, I don't mind hiring a very smart person than me, because I know something which I was going to do for 3 hours, he can do it in 30 minutes.
Thank God for AI coming on board.
And AI is and AI is actually coming on board.
So we need the ChatGPT human beings.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
So these people who practice unhealthy competition in office, how are they going to compete with AI?
You see, one thing that we need to understand. They're going to disconnect cables here and there, or they're going to copy paste everything from the AI and not use their heads. So that is going to be very dangerous.
Because you know there are guys in office who cannot even write a basic email.
Absolutely.
They cannot even be able to have a basic communication with people. I think AI, it's good. And I can give an example to one of my colleagues whom I work with currently. She was telling me that when she wants to sing a lullaby to the son for him to sleep, he goes and chats AI, because of course she's tired coming from office. So you use AI in a positive way. And I think it's the same thing, we can use healthy competition in a positive way.
Absolutely.
And the world is adversely transforming. I don't think whether it's about your age or about your credentials, but I think it's about the impact that you leave into an organization. We should be more of impact driven rather than political driven.
Absolutely.
So that we are able to leave an organization better than we found it. Me and you, we've had an opportunity to work for organizations which have been there for more than 30, 40 years. But the founders of this organization had an intention of why this organization should live. But right now, things are really changing. I can give an example. For example, the hotel industry. Most people prefer to live to Airbnb than live in a hotel. Now, you who is seated here, politicking about how you want to become F&B manager, how are you able to address the contemporary issues happening within your industry? Yeah, and keeping into consideration that you found that organization there, so how are you going to leave this organization for your future kids? Okay, rather than busy politicking, set up structures, set up systems that can be able to this organization to be fit.
Another thing, competition is not going to get any better. It's going to be a murky water because we have multi-generational workforce.
Absolutely.
So we have Gen Zs, we alphas are almost coming in, and everybody is coming with a different orientation and a different culture.
Diversity.
So it's going to be survival for the fittest. The other thing that we need to also understand, as much as we are having multi-generational people in the workspace, the organization, the world is a global village.
Yes.
So we can tap talent from
anywhere.
So competition is becoming stiff every day. So what people probably, I would think, we need to do at an individual level is ensure that you are good enough to play at a world space. You have the requisite skill. Now AI is coming on board. Do you have the requisite skills to do AI? To, you know, are you upskilling? Are you reskilling your people? Are you ensuring that you are fit for the job? Or are you going to politic your way? Because probably you have a good boss who will give you an ear and will entertain your mediocrity, but tomorrow when they are gone, God forbid if they wake up and they collapse and they are dead, what happens to you?
An organization is a breathing organization. So people come, people go. We breathe in air,
we breathe out.
Air.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the good conversation. It's very insightful. And actually, I just got some few questions for you guys. You know, healthy competition is always driven by the culture of the organization, whether healthy or unhealthy. But what is the role of HR to make sure that there's that healthy competition in the organization? That is one. The second one is one of the things that we normally see in most of the organizations, whereby the organization tend to have employee of the year, and you find in among 100 you find one person, and it's called, the person is the outstanding employee. Is that that, in your perspective, is that something that brings that healthy competition, or is an unhealthy competition, just in your view? Thank you very much.
So Steve has asked us very interesting questions. First, you have asked about, you know, how culture plays, you know, a key role in either unhealthy or healthy competition, and what is the role of HR? And the second question is, how does employee of the year, that kind of recognition, impact on healthy or unhealthy competition? Chris, where do you want to start?
Let's start with culture.
Culture.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think culture is one of the most difficult things you can do in an organization because it's an amorphous issue. Yes. Culture is actually in our society. Culture is between me and you. Culture is in our home. The way you raise up your kids is the way they will grow up to be. So basically what I'm saying is that culture starts from the head. We who come from the fish-eating region, we say the fish rots from the head. So culture is actually implemented by the top people at the top. Then it's cascaded down all the way down. So if you put some of your values in an organization, because you have what you call the organizational values, and you put the values are integrity, but then you yourself as a boss, you pick up money from office to go and run your errands and you don't account for it, what do you expect your junior staff to do?
Better than that.
They'll do better than that. And remember, there are so many.
Oh, yes.
So if you picked $1,000 to go and run your errands, they'll pick $100 and there are 80 of them. So you can calculate how much they're going to pick up from the office. So that is culture. But then how does it affect healthy competition? Culture is very important when it comes to competition, because take culture in an institution just like at home. You have different kids. I was privileged to be brought up in a family of 4. But all of us cannot say that we are actually the same. Yeah, even right now. But does a father or my late mother, whom I'm celebrating her 8th anniversary tomorrow, look at that as the same? He looks at that as the same and says, these are my children. But then he knows our strengths and our weaknesses. Oblivious of the fact that he knows Bella is doing better than Chris. But when it comes to performance rating, he looks at us as he has given us a equal platform for us to be able to achieve our needs. So if you inculcate a culture whereby there is a level of favoritism, there's some level of skewed decision making, there's what we call halo effect in HR, then you realize that others will feel that Bella is much favored than Chris. So Bella is the blue-eyed child. So we need to place a level culture whereby every employee in an organization is able to perform at his optimal, with or without comparing them to so and so. Compare them to themselves and to the work that they are doing.
There was a question in regards to, is it a good thing? Does it spark healthy competition or negative competition? And my answer to that is, I don't think recognition is necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. It is what are you recognizing is what defines whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. If we reward mediocrity, then it will be bad. But if you do reward skill, then you are rewarding a good thing. And take an example of the famous footballer Rooney.
Rooney, yes.
Rooney was a very interesting person off the pitch. You know, questionable character, but then on the pitch,
he can box you.
Yeah, on the pitch he's completely a different person.
Yeah.
And we saw him win different awards.
Yes.
So what was he being rewarded for? It's
being at the pitch.
It's being on the pitch,
Yeah.
and not necessarily what he's doing outside.
outside.
So it is important for us to distinguish, to create a distinction between what we are rewarding and what is actually required of this person.
Yeah, so most of the time, viewers, there is usually an issue that an employee has been awarded, and this disgruntlement in the manner in which this employee has been rewarded. So our view is that there is no problem in doing employee recognition, but there's a problem in what you are rewarding. So reward the work, don't reward the person. If you reward the work, it's healthy competition. If you reward the person, it's unhealthy competition, isn't it?
So to speak. Because there's also, when we talk about culture, there's also the aspect of character.
Yes.
You know, are you rewarding character or are you rewarding skill? So that's another conversation for another day. But then it is important to define exactly what it is that you're rewarding.
Yeah,
Now,
but and also you have to be very careful
Yes.
when you're doing those recognition. Just to answer what Steve asked, in that even if you have an employee who is a high performer and is of questionable character, then you have to be cautious about what you're rewarding.
Absolutely.
So you can go on in summary.
In summary of today's conversation, I think we've had a very fruitful conversation.
Absolutely.
And we've realized, you know, competition in itself is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yes.
Whether good or bad, it needs to be tailored, it needs to be understood. It is a factor of very many things. It's a factor of culture, it's a factor of environment, and we just need to be we just need to be aware of where we are and where the healthy or unhealthy competition is coming from, and what we should do about it to ensure that it brings good reward to us.
Thank you. And ultimately, it lies with the leadership of the organization.
Definitely.
So again, I'll go back to my village in Ugenya. We eat fish. The fish rots from the head. Allow me to take it back to Steve, and because you introduced Steve, thank you so much for hosting us. Over to you.
Thank you so much for the good insight. Thank you so much, Chris and Bella. It was very good because you have a lot. So thank you so much for watching. This is People Matters Kigali, Rwanda, and more podcasts are to come. Thank you very much.